What's going on, man?
Wait, how's it going?
Dude, it's going good, man. So we finished up a session a little while ago, and it was interesting to hear kind of your origin story. I think I didn't know all of that, and it was pretty cool to hear you talk about it.
Yeah, man. Thanks.
So here's the thing. So a couple of weeks ago, Dave Gilmer was in town, and Dave and I had a chance to talk about career pathing. It's one of those things that I think our industry always talks about, but they don't have a real structure to put it together. And I know it's one of those things that for you and for your organization Action, it's something that you have really thought about, and you guys have done some amazing things around it. So I wanted to hear from you, like how did you guys go about building your technician career pathing?
Yeah. So when we started this project, right? Because we identified, the industry doesn't do a great job of presenting this hey, if I start here, where am I going to be 5 years from now, right? What's the next steps, or how do I get there, right? So we wanted to map that out. One day it was me, a lot of the leadership team, we're sitting down, we're starting to map it out. And then it just dawned on me, I was like, wait, we're missing something. I was like, we should have the technicians do it, right? Let's have the technicians be a part of building the career mapping, right? If we're going to roll this out to them, let it be something that they helped create, right? So we did breakout sessions where we probably brought in 8 technicians at a time. And we said, hey guys, this is what we're thinking about doing. Here we want to have at least 4, let's have an apprentice, let's have a certified tech, let's have an advanced technician. And then let's have a master or a chief technician. And then it dawned on, the whole team decided on master chief technician, which is, pinned to Halo. But so now Action has we have an apprentice, certified advanced master chief technician level. And they help build, at each level, what is the pay structure, right? So they decided what they thought was a fair pay and a fair advancement. And then we also started to create at what needs to be accomplished, or what certifications and how long do you need to be at the company in order to be able to move. So it's not only is it time, but it's also are they becoming more valuable to the company also, right? So as a leader, and even when I was a manager, some of the hardest conversations I ever had is when someone wants to make more money, and it's always because, hey, I've been here for a year, I want to raise, or I've been here for 5 years, I want to raise, but maybe that person hasn't grown with the business, right? So we decided, how do we map that out? I'm all for paying people more money, but I want them to be more valuable also, right? It's a two-way street. If you're more valuable to the company, I'm going to pay you more. So let's make you more valuable to the company. Let's get you more certifications. Let's get you better training, right? Let's develop you as a leader, and then I'll definitely pay you more. So that's kind of the thought process that went into it with our company. And then honestly, man, I think the technicians, as they came in, they killed it, man. We have a very thought out career path now that's very, structured and, organized. And I know, some Pest Daily kind of helped out with a lot of that too. So appreciate it. But pretty happy with it.
So you guys made this, had this aha moment where you're let's let the technicians develop their own career path, right?
Yeah.
That's a big step. That's a big step, and it can either win or fail, right? It's very hard. So, when you sat down in the room, and I'm assuming you're part of probably these discussions, some of them. So when you sat down in the room, how did you go about asking the questions, or how did you go about getting the information out of, a service technician who might not have ever thought about this before?
Yeah, it was a discussion, right? Most of them have never heard of a career path, right?
Yeah.
And especially in our industry. And some of these guys have been in the industry for over 20 years, right? And they've never seen anything like this. And I think when they saw the opportunity that there's going to be this pathway to, maybe more PTO, higher pay, and then what is it going to take to get there? I think everyone is very intrigued, right? Most people want to, exceed, right? So they want to continue to grow. So if you kind of allow them and you kind of show them the pathway to get there, I think it's great. I think every company should have that. So it's something that once you start, having that conversation with them, we kind of had a rough draft, right? So when we sat them down, there wasn't, it wasn't just a blank canvas. Yeah. We kind of put some hey guys, this is what we're thinking about, but we want your input. And I think that's kind of the process that it took, right? And then, so we have our, we pay our team members production, right? So they get, paid a percentage of their routes. And then at that master chief level, they also get a salary on top of their production, right? Because at that point, they're a lot more valuable than anybody that just comes in and starts working at the company tomorrow, right? They put in the work, they got the certifications. And that's always something too that like our industry, as, we went through this entire, after COVID and after, labor rates went through the roof, you started hiring all these guys. But sometimes the people that were your existing team members were getting paid less than the new people you were bringing on, right? So it's like, this is also having this career path as a way to kind of like fix that, right? And keep it fair, right? It's like, hey, which bucket are they in? And then your guys that have been there a long time know they're getting taken care of because now they got this status, right? Their title is not just technician anymore, right? Like they can be there 5 years and they can be a technician, and the guy that starts tomorrow is a technician, right? So having that career path is a good way to like map out that seniority too amongst the culture too, and then rewarding those guys that have been there for a longer time by having those incentives and having that higher pay structure. So
yeah, I think one of the things that's interesting is the fact that if you don't mind sharing, what was your technician turnover over last year?
Over the last year, I know this year it's been extremely low. I think we were, I think we've, for how many techs we have, I think we've lost turnover was like 2 techs year to date.
Yeah, tiny.
So, yeah, very, very small. So it's a very small percentage.
Yeah, so I think the thing that's interesting is like you guys didn't have a turnover issue. You just said, hey, how do we actually become better as a company? And you built the process to build this internal career path. And like this year, and I know is you've lost 2 technicians out of tons, right? So it's like, so do you think that you're getting a lot more buy-in through this process? Like, do you feel like the technicians are more bought in? And I know it's kind of it's in infancy sort of, but
yeah, I think it's because it's that. I think a lot of times when you lose technicians, and when we've lost technicians in the past, it's always been that where they've wanted more, right?
Yep.
And they didn't know how to ask, or they didn't know how to, so they start to look around, and if there's maybe a better opportunity somewhere else, right? So I think it does. If you create that culture and you create that opportunity way for they know if they put in the work and if they know they get these certain things done, they can grow with the company. I think that's huge for keeping technicians. So.
Yeah, and so it's I gave I think you remember. So last year in Arizona, I had given the talk on this thing, and that was before I knew some of the nuances to what you guys were doing. And I gave this talk about career pathing, and it's something that we deal with all the time. Like we build career paths all the time, and it's something that makes companies feel really good. Like, oh, I have a career path. But I think that the biggest gap that we see is like the actual execution. So you build it, they feel good, put the poster on the wall, but then it's not talked about all the time. So in your service operations today, like how frequently is like it getting talked about? Is it like a big part of the like one-on-ones and discussions?
Yeah, I mean that's something. So we're getting better at that, right? I wouldn't say we're perfect by any means on that. Like how ingrained is the career path in our culture? I think it's it's still new, right? So it just rolled out this year, so it's still kind of like in its infancy stage, but it is something that we're big on scoreboards, we're big on KPIs, and now we're trying to tie that into also our. So we built this career path mapping, and a lot of it was off certifications, time, and everything else. But now it's like, okay, let's loop in their technician scorecards with this also, right? So that's like probably phase 2. So like, even though we just rolled this out, we're happy with it, it's going to change again, right?
Yeah.
And it's just because like, I always want to know the score. I want to know the KPIs. If a guy gets, all the certifications, he's been there 3 years, but his KPIs are low performing, then should he move up, right? So, and I think the KPIs are a way to keep everyone honest, right? Okay. So it's like time spent at an appointment, right? How many reschedules, reservices called by tech, have all this, let them know what the score is. And, I think that helps have those conversations too. So.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I would agree. And so you guys have been through the technician side, and I think that you're probably going to start approaching the other business units at this point, right? Or the departments. Yep. Yeah. So so now that you've been through the exercise, are you considering going through the same exercise and allowing all the different departments to build their own career paths? Is that what you guys are thinking about?
I think it's 100%. I would recommend, we would do it every time.
Yeah.
And I recommend everyone doing it because you get the buy-in from the team that way, right? It's not something that, management created. It's something that they created. So I think they're more bought into it that way, right? they feel better about it knowing that they got to kind of sign off on it, right, and discuss it. And because what happens in these conversations too is, oh, that's not enough, or that's too much. And then when they're able to discuss it amongst their peers, like, hey, are we being fair to the company? Are we being fair to us, right? And really get to talk through that. I think that's very beneficial. So when it is rolled out, like they know it's fair, because they've talked about it and they help create it. So whether it's technicians or CSRs or, your inspectors, sales, anything, I think it's important to have their buy-in on all of it.
Yeah, I think you're going to see an incredible success from this. And I think we're going to sit down here down the road and find out that there was probably less iterations made to it. And you're probably going to have a discussion about how you were able to do it fast, way faster than you thought, and some interesting things, Well, man, hey, appreciate you doing this today, man. I think that people are going to see a ton of value. I think, I think that, including your people is going to prove out huge. So, man, thanks a lot for doing this, man.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.